Yo, 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 what it do, fam? It's your boy Momo Senpai, and I'm back here again with another episode of What's on Anime.
And it's gonna get real medieval in today's episode. Before we get any further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel so you can stay tuned for more content that's on the way. Now, grab a seat at the round table and let's get into it. The story of Artoria begins more than 1,000 years before the modern day setting of Fate's Day Night of the Fate series. It was born to King Arthur Pendragon at a time when Britain was on the verge of destruction. Famine and wars raged throughout the land. The only hope was a prophecy from the wizard Merlin that a great king would soon be born and rescue Britain. Through supernatural means, Arthur's unborn child was infused with the blood of a dragon and with that incredible potential. However, when the child was born, Arthur fell into despair because she was not a boy. Artoria could not be his heir. A woman could not be king. So he gave her to Merlin. Arthur's only other child, Morgan, was a female as well, so when he died shortly after, his lands were left without a king. Merlin sent Artoria to be raised by Sir Ector, a noble but aging knight. Under Merlin's orders, she was raised as a boy and taught the ways of knighthood. Artoria served as a squire to Ector's son, Kay, who treated her like a little brother. During this time, Merlin would appear to her in dreams to give her lessons and prepare her for the future. Artoria grew up like this until she was about 15 years old, when the day of prophecy had finally arrived. A mysterious stone had appeared with a sword in it. It had an inscription which said, "Whoever pulls this sword from this stone is the rightful king of all England." Many knights had gathered from all across England hoping to fulfill the prophecy, and many of them tried to pull the sword out, but none could make it budge. After all of them had given up, Artoria went to try herself. That's when Merlin appeared, stopping her. He warned her that pulling the sword out would doom her to a tragic fate. She would lose her humanity and become hated. Merlin showed her visions of the future and of her death. Artoria hesitated not because she feared her own fate, but because she feared what she would have to do. To her, becoming king meant throwing away her humanity and to be willing to kill many people in order to protect her kingdom. Although she saw it as a necessary evil, this thought tormented her, but she made up her mind based on one thing. In the visions Merlin showed her, there were many people happy. She pulled the sword from the stone easily. The sword, called Excalibur, had a spell on it which stopped her from aging. Physically, she would never grow any older. Merlin gave her one final warning, saying, "In exchange for this miracle, you will lose what you hold most dear." As king, she took up the name Arthur and formed a party led by herself, Merlin, and Kay. They roamed the land, conquering or making deals with other kingdoms in an attempt to unite England. Along the way, she met many of the famous knights of the Round Table and made them her allies. The final opponent of this campaign was a great dragon named Vortigern. During this time, magic was beginning to disappear from the world. In fact, in most of the world, it already had. It was close to the beginning of the modern age when science and technology would replace magic. In fact, the disappearance of magic was the reason why Britain was dying. Unlike most of the world, Britain was still stuck in the magical era, mostly because of Vortigern. Vortigern knew that if magic faded from this world, it would mean the end of magical creatures like himself as well. The dragon empowered himself by drawing power from the earth and became like an avatar of Great Britain. He was planning to rule over Britain and keep it forever as a land of magic, although this would mean stopping humanity's progress. However, Merlin foresaw this and equipped Arthur with a powerful spear called Rongominiad, which could counter Vortigern's power. Arthur defeated the dragon in their climactic battle, ending the rule of magic and launching the age of humanity. But as he was dying, Vortigern gave an ominous prophecy. "As long as you live, Britain has no future. Scorn your fate. The Britain of old has long since fallen into ruin." Uh-oh, spooky. Talk about a bittersweet victory. And I know what you're thinking. Why didn't she just use Excalibur, her original weapon? Before the battle with Vortigern on some adventure, Artoria lost Excalibur, the sword from the stone. In order to find a worthy replacement, she went to a holy lake. There, she met a fairy who was simply known as the Lady in the Lake. The lady gave her a sword called Excalibur, which was even greater than Excalibur. The sword had the power to channel the energy of the planet itself to launch incredibly powerful beams of light, although its true potential was limited by magical seals. The sword's sheath had its own magic. This scabbard was called Avalon, and it made the wielder of Excalibur basically immortal. With these artifacts, in addition to her natural power as a dragon hybrid, Artoria was undefeated in battle. She was blessed by Earth and the magic of Britain, but this also made her incompatible with the upcoming modern age. These miracles were necessary to save Britain from the many threats she faced, but would not save Britain from the changing times. After Vortigern's defeat, Arthur was crowned king of all England in the new city of Camelot. Camelot had been built specifically for Arthur through the power of fairy magic and was a truly majestic place. Within Arthur's castle, there was also a round table, a magical table which seated Arthur's 12 greatest knights. Upon taking the throne, Arthur married a noble lady named Guinevere, but they could not produce a child. The marriage was just to keep up appearances. Artoria's sister Morgan hatched a plot to take advantage of this. Morgan Le Fay, as she was now called, had become a powerful sorceress, and she was bitter at seeing her younger sister have all the glory she thought belonged to her. She created a clone of Artoria named Mordred and planned to have her replace Artoria. Arthur's reign was highly successful, but there were problems as well. It was difficult for Artoria to hide her true gender, but she managed to do it with the help of Merlin's magic. Because she didn't age, she was eternally stuck looking like a teenager, making her gender less obvious. Many people in the kingdom looked down on the child king and found his immortality too inhuman, but others saw it as a blessing and praised her divinity. Many nobles resented Arthur for her strict treatment of them. Arthur was a man of the common people, and he did not give the elites the preferential treatment they wanted. Arthur was too beloved to openly rebel against, but Morgan secretly plotted with the disgruntled nobles to take the king down. A huge scandal broke out when it was revealed that Lancelot, one of the greatest knights of the Round Table, had been having an affair with Guinevere. Lancelot was ashamed and was willing to be executed, but Artoria tried to issue a pardon. She could not hold Lancelot and Guinevere accountable for breaking up a fake marriage, but this only made Lancelot feel more guilty, so he abducted Guinevere and made off with her to his homeland. In the process, several of Arthur's best knights were killed and others joined Lancelot in abandoning England. This scandal brought shame to Arthur's court and became the first true crack in its foundation. Arthur's reign in Camelot lasted 10 years and Artoria ruled flawlessly for most of that time. Nonetheless, there were still many hardships. The fading of magic from the land led to continued droughts and famines, and attacks from foreign powers were unending. During this short reign, Arthur fought 12 wars and won every single one. The losses were heavy and sacrifices had to be made. At times, Arthur's army was forced to steal food and supplies from their own villages, a necessary sacrifice, but one that went against the chivalrous ideas of the time and led to resentment among some knights. There were times of peace and happiness, but also many frustrations. One day, Mordred and the Knight of the Round Table revealed her true identity to Artoria. She claimed to be Artoria's son born through Morgan Le Fay's magic. Mordred asked to be acknowledged as a son and to be made heir to the throne. Artoria refused, as she did not view Mordred as anything more than a loyal knight and wanted no son. Furthermore, she knew that Mordred was not yet ready for such responsibility. Although Artoria allowed Mordred to retain her status as a Knight of the Round Table, Mordred was left heartbroken, feeling like she had been rejected as a son because of her unnatural birth. Mordred became furious with Artoria and secretly plotted to destroy the kingdom of Camelot. When Artoria and her army had to leave to fight off another invasion, she temporarily left Mordred in charge of Camelot. The coalition of anti-Arthur forces used this as their opportunity to strike. One of the most famous knights of the Round Table, Tristan, left Camelot for his homeland, declaring that Arthur did not understand the human heart. The anti-Arthur forces used this as a rallying cry. The rebellious lords raised an army and declared Mordred, Arthur's supposed son, as king. Despite heavy resistance from Arthur loyalists, Mordred's army managed to take Camelot. Mordred attempted an ambush, but Arthur's forces pushed him back with the help from Sir Kay and Arthur's right-hand man, Sir Gawain. The two of them died in the ensuing carnage, and the war became a series of battles all across England, lasting a week. The entire country was engulfed in a civil war. Now, before I tell you how the climactic battle ends, don't forget to smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and if you haven't already, what are you doing? Subscribe to the dang channel. Now, after ceaseless fighting and bloodshed, the stage was finally set. The final battle between Mordred and Arthur was fought on Camelot Hill. Mordred had at some point earlier stolen Excalibur's scabbard, making Arthur mortal again. At Camelot, Arthur and Mordred's forces gradually dwindled down to almost nothing. Mordred met with Artoria face to face and taunted her, saying, "This is the end of your country. It's all over." Mordred then begged to know why Arthur did not give Mordred the throne. Artoria had no answer. The two clashed and Mordred was struck dead, but Arthur was also mortally wounded. As Artoria stood atop a mountain of corpses, she realized it was the end of Camelot and all her kingdom. She became filled with regret and despair. She thought to herself, "I was the only one supposed to meet this tragic end. This is wrong." Artoria had accepted her tragic death, but she could not accept Britain's destruction. She knew that Camelot wouldn't last forever, but she had hoped for it to fade away peacefully, not to collapse in flames along with her. She rejected this ending with all her heart. In response, a being called Elia offered to grant her her wish. Elia is the collective willpower of humankind, so to speak, a godlike power within the verse that was born from the thoughts of humans and devoted itself to protecting civilization. This was the same power that created the heroic spirits and allowed for them to be summoned as servants in the Holy Grail War. The power offered Artoria a deal. In exchange for being protector of the world, it would give her a chance to be reborn to see the Holy Grail. If she could obtain the Holy Grail, she could undo the past to make it so that she never became king, which Artoria hoped would lead to a better future. But in exchange, she would be forced into eternal servitude as a mere pawn of inhuman powers, forced to do battle at their bidding forever. Artoria accepted, and this led to her being summoned in the 4th and 5th Holy Grail Wars as the servant saber. Although she won more often than she lost, she never obtained the Grail. This didn't matter, as she could keep being summoned forever in different eras and timelines until she eventually obtained it. However, as Artoria fought through the Holy Grail Wars, she was changed by her experience meeting people like Emi, and she began to have a change of heart. In truth, Artoria's Britain was doomed from the start. There was nothing anyone could have done to stop it. Artoria's time was still part of the Age of Magic, and the Age of Magic had to end for humanity to progress. Everything she did was unknowingly for that cause. Even her own death was a necessary part of this transition because Artoria herself was a magical being. Just because someone makes mistakes in their life, that doesn't make their life a mistake. At some point, she realized the futility of trying to change the past and simply gave up on pursuing the Holy Grail. By doing so, she broke the contract and freed her soul from the cycle of reincarnation. At the end of her life, it is said that Arthur was laid to rest in Avalon, and that Arthur would one day return when he was needed most. Artoria returned to Avalon, the realm of the fairies, where she sleeps and dreams, in a paradise beyond the world. Well, folks, that is all we have today on the legend of Artoria Pendragon. Thank you so much for sticking around. If you haven't already, smash that like button and comment down below who's your favorite fake character. Let us know who you'd want to see a video of next. And of course, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content. It's your boy Momo Senpai checking out. Peace.